Prince Edward has rarely been the royal who dominates headlines. He has spent decades working quietly, avoiding controversy, and carrying out engagements without seeking attention. But recent discussions surrounding the Duke of Edinburgh's title, Bagshot Park, and the future of royal assets have raised an important question. How much authority does a monarch really have over property, titles, and family arrangements once legal agreements are already in place? What makes this story so fascinating isn't simply whether Prince Edward kept what was entrusted to him. It's the larger issue of how royal tradition, private agreements, and modern law can sometimes pull in different directions. And once those questions emerge, they affect far more than one member of the royal family. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away in September 2022, she left behind not only a monarchy, but decades of carefully considered decisions. Among those was her long-standing wish that Prince Edward would eventually become Duke of Edinburgh, a title that had been so closely associated with Prince Philip for more than 70 years. That promise became reality in April 2023, when King Charles III officially granted Edward the title. To many observers, the matter seemed settled. But as conversations about streamlining the monarchy continued, attention also turned toward the properties and responsibilities connected to senior working royals. One estate always stood out, Bagshot Park. Located within Windsor Great Park, Bagshot Park is far more than a historic residence. The estate has served as the Edinburgh family's home for years and represents an important part of Edward and Sophie's working royal life. What many people don't realize is that Edward's connection to Bagshot Park has never been as simple as being allowed to live there. Long before becoming Duke of Edinburgh, he accepted responsibility for restoring the estate after years of decline. During the late 1990s, the property required extensive renovation. Rather than walking away from the challenge, Edward committed significant private resources to improving the house while working alongside the Crown estate under a formal lease agreement. Over time, millions of pounds were invested in restoring the historic building. Lease terms were revised, rents increased, and the estate once again became a functioning royal residence. Those investments changed the conversation. Instead of being viewed simply as a royal home, Bagshot Park became closely linked with long-term legal agreements and financial commitments. That distinction matters because legal contracts cannot simply be rewritten by changing monarchs. As debate continued over the future of royal finances, some commentators questioned whether all royal residences should eventually be reviewed under a more centralized system. Others argued that long-standing agreements should remain untouched, especially where private investment had played such a major role. That discussion naturally extended beyond property. Attention also focused on personal gifts given by Queen Elizabeth II during her reign. Among the most recognizable is Sophie's wedding tiara, which has become closely associated with the Duchess of Edinburgh ever since her marriage in 1999. Unlike pieces regularly borrowed from the royal collection for state occasions, wedding gifts often carry a different legal and personal significance. Whether an item belongs to the crown or to an individual depends on how it was originally transferred and documented. For royal historians, that distinction is crucial. Throughout history, monarchs have separated crown property from private possessions through legal deeds, wills, and formal documentation. Those records often determine ownership years, or even decades later. That is why paperwork inside the monarchy can sometimes prove just as important as tradition itself. Another figure often mentioned whenever these discussions arise is Princess Anne. Known for her direct approach and unwavering dedication to duty, Anne has earned respect across the royal family for placing institution above personal popularity. She has also maintained an exceptionally close relationship with both Edward and Sophie over recent years. Following the deaths of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II, Anne and Sophie were frequently seen supporting one another during difficult moments. Royal watchers noticed their growing bond as both women took on additional responsibilities while helping steady the monarchy during a period of enormous transition. Because of that relationship, many commentators believe Anne naturally supports preserving decisions that reflected her parents' wishes. Meanwhile, King Charles faces a different challenge altogether. Since becoming monarch, he has consistently spoken about creating a smaller, more efficient royal family. Balancing that vision while respecting long-standing legal agreements is no easy task. Every decision affects not only finances but also public perception, family relationships, and the future direction of the monarchy. That balancing act becomes even more delicate when Queen Camilla's office is also involved in discussions about royal administration and modernization. Whether those conversations concern staffing, residences, or ceremonial responsibilities, every move is closely examined by both the media and royal observers. Perhaps the biggest lesson from all of this is that modern monarchies operate within legal frameworks, just like any other institution. While the sovereign carries immense constitutional importance, contracts, leases, and documented gifts often exist independently of personal preference. Those documents provide certainty, particularly when leadership changes from one reign to another. For Prince Edward, years of careful planning, financial responsibility, and quiet service have strengthened his reputation as one of the monarchy's most dependable figures. Unlike some members of the family who have often dominated headlines through controversy, Edward has built his image through consistency. That approach may not attract daily media attention, but it has earned him considerable respect among many royal commentators. Sophie has followed a similar path. Her steady support of Queen Elizabeth II during the late monarch's final years helped strengthen her standing within the institution. Today, she remains one of the busiest working royals, frequently representing the crown both in Britain and overseas. Together, Edward and Sophie have cultivated an image built on stability rather than spectacle. Whether future reforms eventually reshape parts of the monarchy remains uncertain. What seems clear, however, is that any changes involving long-established legal rights are likely to face careful scrutiny. For King Charles, the challenge is larger than any single property or title. It is about modernizing the institution while maintaining confidence that commitments made by previous monarchs continue to carry weight. And for Prince Edward, the story serves as a reminder that patience, preparation, and properly documented agreements can sometimes prove more powerful than public confrontation. In the end, this isn't simply a story about one estate or one title. It's about legacy, responsibility, and the careful balance between tradition and law inside one of the world's oldest institutions. The real question is no longer who holds the keys to Bagshot Park. The question is how the royal family will preserve trust while adapting to a new era, and whether that balance can be maintained for generations to come.